Welcome to the Steering Change Podcast, navigating through the commercial transportation industry in Alberta and beyond, powered by the Alberta Motor Transport Association. Here's your host, Kelsey Hipkin.
Greeting, friends, and welcome to today's episode. Safety. It comes first and foremost in our industry and dictates our day-to-day. Some years ago, it was safety that had a group of folks thinking about standardizing training in industry to support the people who keep goods on the move 24/7. To that end, and with a grant from what was known as Alberta Transportation at the time, AMTA focused on a designation for safety individuals in commercial transportation. From that, the Certified Transportation Safety Professional, CTSP, and Certified Transportation Safety Coordinator, CTSC, were born. These first-of-their-kind designations produce individuals capable of developing and managing a carrier's road transportation safety and compliance programs in part or in whole. This individual will often supervise the day-to-day functions of others in the organization. Also, they're often responsible for providing guidance and acting as a subject matter expert in the field of safety and compliance. AMTA has approved a number of courses for inclusion in the coursework curriculum. All of the courses identified help develop the candidate's ability to demonstrate the 7 required competencies. And to that end, I am joined by 2 very special guests today. Christina Sadlowski is a CTSP advisor for fleet safety with Strike Group. And fun fact, she once worked the pit crew for her husband's drag racing team. And while our other guest needs no introduction, I'm going to introduce him anyways. I would like to welcome back to the show AMTA Senior Advisor, Strategic Partnerships, Josh Hannaberry. Christina, Josh, welcome.
It's awesome to be here. Great to be back. Really looking forward to our conversation. And Kelsey, you're just crushing it, my friend.
All right, to start, Christina, we're going to put you in the hot seat first. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Hello. Well, thank you for inviting me today. I've been working in the transportation industry for many years, specifically in safety and compliance for the past 14. I moved to Calgary 6 years ago and now work for Strike Group in the corporate office downtown. I started as fleet coordinator and after attaining my CTSP designation, was promoted to fleet safety advisor.
So, Christina, have you been in the field long, or was Strike Group kind of your first touch base with industry?
No, I've been in the field for a long time. I've kind of, throughout my whole career, I've been in the transportation industry, whether it was gravel trucking, concrete, and then moving into coil, and then now with Strike. So it's been many years of experience in and around the transportation industry.
That's amazing. It's kind of fascinating how often we do see that with people in industry. They've touched many different aspects of the particular industry. So we're so glad that you're here today to be able to share all that knowledge with us. Mr. Hannaberry, your turn. Can you please tell us a bit about yourself and your work?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, congratulations, Christina, too. Getting your CTSP and then the promotion. That's awesome. So my name is Josh Hannaberry, and I'm a super proud dad, super proud husband, and I like to set that stage because I think that's a key part of my identity, and it really drives my passion. And I am AMTA's Senior Advisor of Strategic Partnerships, which is really exciting because it's a newly created role, which is for one, but also it's an opportunity to really engage with industry kind of in a way I don't think we have before. Where, solving problems a little differently and just building really strong relationships with multiple stakeholders and carriers. So, but yeah, it's really good to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina and Josh. Christina, I'm going to start with you on digging a little deeper. How did you first hear about CTSP and why did you decide to pursue it?
Well, I first heard about the CTSP program back in 2016. I attended stakeholder sessions at the AMTA before the MELT program was brought in. I also took a transportation safety professionals workshop in late 2016. Now, shortly after I started at Strike, I was encouraged to do some training. So I took a look at the AMTA and was excited to find that the CTSP was now a designation. The courses are centered around everything I deal with in my day-to-day job. And I was excited to learn the legislation and standards to back up the experience I've had over the years, to define what I had learned as company policy versus the actual legislation.
And can you tell me a bit about the process itself, like balancing the CTSP work with your regular job? What does that look like as you're working to achieve your designation?
Well, first I completed the application and determined that I was qualified to uh, attain the CTSP as opposed to the C. And I wanted to complete it within a year, which was a lot. It was a lot to plan the prerequisite courses first, and then according to course availability and my work commitments. It was a bit tricky sometimes with 2 courses a month and getting all 11 courses completed by the final exam in June last year. It definitely is a heavy workload when you're doing a full-time job and out of the office for 3 days at a time to attend the courses. My employer is great and helped me a lot with as far as availability, and they were super supportive. Also, the support from the instructors was fantastic in how the courses relate to each other, and as far as the knowledge content and learning, what was important as far as exams, as well as important in the safety industry, safety and transportation industry.
I'll just say kudos to you. You're schooling and you're working. It's a lot of a workload. So just a shout out to you for all the effort that you put into that. I'm gonna switch to you for a sec, Josh. Just taking the input from Christina, can you share your CTSP journey and how the designation allows for collaboration with others also working towards the same?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so I mirror a lot of what Christina said. So I think sometimes when an organization thinks their best practice is best, that's based off of other people's opinion and experience. So you go into a classroom and you're learning from. I brag about our the instructors and the qualities that they bring, and they're experts in their field. So when you bring your questions to an environment where I'm eager to learn, I'm excited, and then you can also talk to the person to the left of you and the right of you and say, oh, what are you doing in this situation? Or, oh, how do you handle these situations? So I think there's a lot of value in the learning content. I applied that when I was at my past large carrier, because that's actually when I started my CTSP journey as well. But a lot of it is the relationships and just knowing that you're not necessarily going to battle alone, because oftentimes safety professionals kind of feel isolated. But when you can, network amongst your peers and you're aligned with people that really care about what you care about for a common cause of getting the letters, which is great, but taking that knowledge back to your place of work, implementing it, trying it. But then you're going to see them again in a couple weeks because you're taking the next course together. Like that's really exciting, and that's some of my best friends in industry now came from through our training courses. So I think that's been really helpful too. And I also think that it's nice when you can share best practice advice in a safe, non-competing environment. So doesn't necessarily even matter the sector that you're in. If you have commercial vehicles, how do you talk to your professional drivers, or what is hours of service? All of those things. I think the whole designation really helped me just understand, you're doing it as a community, which is high value for sure.
And can you kind of elaborate on how CTSP and C shed light on the fact that many organizations with commercial vehicles tend to have more than traditional tractor trailer setups?
Totally, yeah. So I think a lot of the preconceived, when people think of trucking or transportation, they typically think tractor trailer rolling down the highway. We happen to see a lot of them on the road. That's not necessarily trucking. That's part of it for sure, but that's not even the majority, because it's based off of how you register your vehicles and the distance. Well, if you leave our province or not, we'll get too technical, but when someone realizes that, oh, that cube van is actually a commercial vehicle, or oh, that F-350 could actually be a commercial vehicle, it's a very different conversation. Your eyes get really big, because I think anyone that's worked for an employer, not even a carrier, but an employer that identifies as the plumbing company, the roofing company, the rental equipment company. Oh, I have those in my fleet. Oh, I have those everywhere. Okay, well, now there's a lot more requirements that you have to consider. There's a lot more legislation that you have to know. And just being a leader in your environment, because you're taking this training so you can bring back that knowledge. It's a huge eye opener. It's also a big culture shift too, because like one of my favorite examples is you're going to host a pizza party for the crew in the back, and the person at the front's just like, awesome, I'll take the pickup truck, I'll go get some pizzas. Well, it's actually a commercial vehicle, so there's a bunch of things that they actually have to have in place and some training and whatnot before they're actually allowed to operate that vehicle. So it's a big culture shift once you bring that information back. That oftentimes is not, it's not familiar, it's not known, and it's just, it's a big part of our industry though.
So you, Josh, also come from an insurance background. can you kind of touch on how the CTSP can cover safety from a National Safety Code, NSC, or Occupational Health and Safety, OHS standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question too. And so it's interesting coming from, so when I worked for major carriers, I was always involved in if an accident happened. So it doesn't have to be necessarily a crash, but it could be a claim, a cargo claim, something like that. And oftentimes when we're having these insurance conversations, it's really about the vehicle and the commodity that you're hauling and maybe the damage that was done. It's not necessarily about the human. And what I really applaud about the CTSP is you really learn that there's a lot of legislation, a lot of rules and laws in place to protect the human, which is the most important part of our entire ecosystem. Is if it's the professional driver, if it's the warehouse worker, and everyone that's living and breathing doing the job. So once you realize that, oh, there's a correlation here, they're not polar opposites. You bring that to a risk conversation where risk is very different than, say, road compliance. And when you're dealing with risk, it's really, I have many examples that I could nerd out into, but it's really understanding, like, is there an opportunity of loss? Well, that's different than national safety code or transportation legislation. But then what about the human that's actually, at the end of the day, making a decision that led to a loss? So that's why it's so important that we also understand if it's psychosocial hazards, if it's like workplace, so don't trip over a cord or an extension cord, to cold temperatures, all of these things. When you take those into account, you look at risk very differently, because the amount of incidents and accidents that happen through winter time that do cause a claim, that do cause an insurance, if it's a hit on their record with their insurer, will happen because of a human. So if it was slippery roads and they were going a little too fast, well, if you ask them why were we going a little too fast, maybe it was the pressure from the dispatcher. Maybe it was there's an emergency happening back home and I have to get home, that led to, oh, I didn't see the ice, that I slid and I crashed. There's something happening with insurance. So as you go through the CTSP and you tie it to things like insurance, there's so many synergies. And my experience when I was in insurance, that part wasn't talked about enough. It was just, there was a collision, who's at fault? Was it preventable? What did you do post collision? What was the remediation? When I think if you're proactive and you deal with the humans and you provide training and you identify hazards, all of these other things that we learn, you'd have a safer operation altogether, which has in my opinion, has a direct correlation to what you pay in insurance.
Awesome. And speaking of humans, I'm going to come back to you, Christina. Just when you are working with your team now as a CTSP, how does that reflect on how you collaborate with your team?
Yes, it has put me in somewhat more of a leadership role as far as providing the details on legislation and the standards, and really gaining trust
Mm-hmm.
from our teams. Really, we have districts in all 4 provinces in the Western Canada, and so collaborating with all of those teams, it has really helped for them to place more trust in me, I think, and guidance from me.
Yeah, and I think you really nailed it with the trust piece there. Working in the industry, we do that is so important that we trust our team and the people that we work with day to day. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to shift a little bit. Christina, you're very involved with AMTA. You've been to our safety summits, and then you're about to volunteer for our professional truck driving championship. What are some of the things that keep you coming back?
Meeting new people and engaging with the people that I have met. I see familiar faces from all of the courses, and being able to, interact with maybe individuals that are still working on their CTSP.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoy volunteering. I have been a volunteer all my life in, all sorts of aspects. And I volunteered last year at the Driver Appreciation Days. And, speaking with those drivers and, having, when they're coming through the scale, and, it's the fear in their eyes, right? They're
Yes.
being pulled into the scale, and being able to talk to them and put them at ease and thank them for what they do. And like you said, it's a 24/7 industry. And I really like to interact with with the people, the
Absolutely.
humans.
Right? Yeah, we're back to the humans. And I think that's so important. A lot of times people, they go to the grocery store, there's something on the shelf. How did it get there? I don't know. The house elves aren't doing it. So it's important that we recognize that our truck drivers are bringing those goods to us. And I think it's also super key to salute the people that do volunteer for all our events. We absolutely couldn't do them without you. And then just on that note, I'm going to segue into closing for this. Christina, thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate you sharing your time and your knowledge. Is there anything that you would like to add in closing?
Well, again, thank you for inviting me today. I'm very proud to have completed the designation and have those letters behind my name now. And I'm excited to have the designation back up and confirm my knowledge of transportation safety moving
Awesome.
forward.
Thank you and congratulations. It is definitely a huge achievement. Josh, anything you would like to add?
Oh, this has been an awesome conversation. And yeah, Christina, great job again. And I really value your appreciation for the human and volunteering. It is great to be back at AMTA, and it's really encouraging just to see the work that we're doing with some really incredible people. And yeah, I'm blessed to be back. So appreciate this to be back on the podcast as well. And I think my encouragement to industry too is really just get involved. And if it's volunteering, great. If it's taking that course, great. If it's just raising your hand to participate in something, but get involved, because I think from Christina's journey, my journey, and countless others, when you get involved, you really do get attached to the great work that's being done, and you're part of a difference. And I think that's all like really important in our career. So yeah, that'd be my encouragement, is just, yeah, to get involved, pursue the designation, because it really does make a difference in just your ability as a leader to lead, as well as, yeah, for your organization. So yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Wonderful. Thanks for hanging out, Josh. Speaking of CTSP and C, AMTA has made those designations even more attainable for AMTA members with the launch of our new member value initiative. This includes adjustments to full carrier fees and tiered supplier memberships, including bundled education packages with CTSP and C. Contact membership at amta.ca for details. I would also like to shout out everyone who attended our 87th annual conference at the River Cree Resort and Casino, April 8th to 10th in Enoch. I know a lot of meaningful connections were made, and we always value your support in advancing commercial transportation in Alberta. Speaking of commercial transportation, registration for the Professional Truck Driving Championship takes place May 31st in Edmonton. Both our competitors and volunteer registration is open. Check out amta.ca for details and email us at events@amta.ca to submit those. Please be reminded that registration does close May 23rd. And finally, if you haven't heard of it yet and have a driver who has gone above and beyond, be sure to nominate them for AMTA's Angels of the Highway. Want to know more? Email us at membership@amta.ca. Do you have any questions or comments about today or other Steering Change episodes? Please reach out on our Instagram at AMTA_CA or LinkedIn and Facebook at Alberta Motor Transport Association. Stay safe and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of AMTA's Steering Change podcast. The views expressed by guests of the Steering Change podcast are their own and may not reflect the views of AMTA, its hosts, or sponsors. Did you have a question that you would like answered on an upcoming episode of the Steering Change podcast? We want to hear from you. To submit a question to the Steering Change mailbag, hit up our DMs on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram with the hashtag Steering Change, and your question will be answered either live on the podcast or by one of our SMEs here at AMTA. We ask that you share this episode with those in your network that could benefit from what we discussed today, and make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you can be notified when future episodes are released. You can learn more about us and our mission by visiting www.amta.ca. Now get out there and have a safe day.